Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB bikini pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Hello, everyone. In today's episode, we are chatting with an athlete who has done 2 regional shows and 2 national shows, overcoming adversities that she has faced, making her more determined to make a comeback and achieve her success that ultimately led to her winning her pro card. And she represents the belief that it is never too late to go after your dreams and that bodybuilding can be a game changer for people as they age. And I'm so excited to get into all of this. Plus, me and this woman have met before. We did a show together, so this is just going to be awesome. So welcome to the show, Suzanne Fargo. How are you doing?
Oh my gosh, I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so excited. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I'm excited to have you too. And, there's a lot of things that I want to get into with you. And I have to ask first, what is something you do or a ritual you have right before your heel hits the stage?
I always have like a come to Jesus conversation with myself.
Uh-huh.
My own little, pep talk, coach to athlete, me to myself. And I just have that moment where I just give myself a pep talk right before, saying like everything that you've done has led up to this moment, give it your all.
Yes.
The next 30 seconds as an NPC athlete, as you know, that you have to get on stage and show everything that you've worked so hard for and just make it count, So I really try to just focus and I just have a little pep talk with myself.
Yes, that is awesome. I love what you just said too. Like this could be your last time as an NPC athlete. Is that something you would tell yourself at the national shows?
Oh, absolutely. I had not a great morning, the morning of my pro card win. And I just took a deep breath and just said, come on, Suzanne, pose your ass off and don't think about anything else. And the next 30 seconds, show them that you deserve to be on that pro stage. That's what I told myself.
Mm-hmm.
Show them that you deserve to be.
That is awesome. And what was happening that morning?
Oh my gosh, so many things. The not makeup, but the hair girl was running an hour and a half behind, which was never great. And then there was in Pittsburgh at North American, there's also always a pro show going on too, like a Masters Bikini Pro.
Yeah.
So they were calling my age group, but it was for Masters, but it wasn't like clear. So we freaked out. Like my coaches and I were like, oh my God, because I was still getting my hair done.
Yeah.
And the stress of like not being down there when they're calling your name, that's like my worst fear. Like I've had dreams about that.
Yes. Oh my God, the prep dreams.
And it was like, grab your stuff and run. So the adrenaline of being on the 8th floor in the hotel, trying to get down to the show floor level, putting your shoes on, and just, like that anxiety was, and then to get down there and find out they were calling Masters.
Oh my gosh.
It was just like the stress almost gave me a heart attack is all I can tell you.
I don't doubt that. Cause like, it's hard enough when you're just standing back. I mean, I shouldn't, hard is not the right word, but like you get that adrenaline rush when you're just standing backstage, ready to go on. They're lining you up, making sure you're all in the right order. That's already like getting your heart rate going. Your legs are a little shaky. Add on top of that, running late because the show's running behind or you think you're running late. You're hauling ass down that is stressful. And then you don't want that to show up on your body. So when you realized it wasn't yours, did you just go up and get your hair finished or what did you do?
Oh no, my hair, thank God you can't really tell in the pictures, but it was the worst my hair's ever looked in any show. And I was like, why today?
Yeah.
And then I just told myself, you know what, small potatoes, it's just all about your posing your body. And my hair looked okay, but it just wasn't great.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't worry about it. I just thought to myself, you know what? I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to let it get to me. I've worked too hard to get here. And thank God you couldn't tell, but I could tell.
Oh, yeah. We can always nitpick at those things, that's for sure.
And in my head, I was like, why today of all days, you know? And then they were yelling the age category, but they weren't saying pro, you know?
Yeah.
So at first, and so it was very confusing. It's like, you know, are they calling us right now, or is it the pros? It was just confusing in the beginning.
Well, that's definitely good insight for anyone who might be doing that show who is a Masters competitor to be very clear about whether it's the Masters Pro division going or if it's Masters NPC.
Yeah, and I think North America is really the only show you got to worry about that, because I think it's the only national show that has pros as well.
Yeah, I think you might be right on that actually. And I want to talk about your journey to that show because there
Absolutely.
was a lot that went into that. And like I said in the intro, you know, me and you, we met at Muscle Contest, Gold Coast. All I remember is going up to him and be like, you freaking killed that. Like, congrats, because you swept the entire competition. Like, you just bam, Suzanne, bam, Suzanne. I was like, who is this? And me and my friend Jen, you know, Jen P. I don't want to say her last name just in case, but she was back there and you guys connected anyway. She's like, oh my gosh, she's so amazing, she is so beautiful. And I remember like watching you out there, you were shining. It was so cool to witness, and that was your first show. So
Oh, thank
yeah,
you. Yes, that was
you're
my very first show
welcome.
ever.
Of course.
I have to tell you, it was just a shock to me because my kids were like, are you going to win a trophy? Because you know how kids are. They're just
Yeah.
excited, like if you can bring it home. And I was like, I hope so. But I didn't know what to expect. Like, I had never competed before. I was just hoping I didn't get last. And when I was there and I kept winning, I seriously was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like my body, I was having like an out of body experience. I can't even explain it to you because I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was just shocked myself.
Oh no, that was so cool. And you totally deserved that as well. There wasn't anyone who deserved it more.
Oh my God, thank you. Thank you for saying that. But I totally remember you too, because we were both competing for the novice overall. And of course, I'm
Yes.
going to assess my competition. I'm really, really good. And so I totally remember you there.
Oh my God, thank you. That's so
So
crazy. I remember that well, and that was like probably actually I think that was like my best show in terms of like placings and what happened, because I got like first in novice, and then I got second, or no, I got third in open. And I remember I was like, are you kidding me? I need to go qualify for nationals in Vegas now. So I ended up going to Vegas the next weekend, but that show lit a fire under my you know what, and so we just carried it on. But that was super cool, and I'd love to know like what your feedback was from that show, as well as your second show, which I believe was Governor's Cup, and that was, you know, obviously Sandy is judging that. So what kind of feedback were you getting from these shows?
after my first show, my feedback, what was my feedback? Oh, my feedback was to bring in a stronger glute hamstring tie-in. That's what it was.
Okay.
And a little bit of a fuller upper body. And that's been my feedback at every show. I just, you know, like nobody has the most perfect physique of everything. I was a runner my whole life, so my lower body has great muscle memory, but my upper body, I've never worked out my upper body like ever in my life. And as a runner, you don't really do that either. So building a full upper body has been definitely a challenge for me. So that was my feedback, was to bring in a little bit fuller upper body, and a stronger glute ham tie-in. So that was my goal. But at the time I had a hernia, a really bad hernia going into Gold Coast actually.
Mm.
And I wasn't supposed to compete again. Like my doctor was like, do not compete. But I said, I just want to do one more show. And Governor's Cup was 6 weeks later. And I actually switched coaches at that time as well. And I just was determined to do that show.
And you absolutely accomplished the feedback you got.
You know, I did, thanks to Camille. She was my coach that I switched to, Camille Perriott.
Yes.
And, you know, obviously she's in and look at her glutes. They're amazing. And
Yeah.
she just, I told her what my feedback was, and she gave me a program and dialed me in. And I think my glutes probably look the best there than they've ever looked, you know. So thanks to Camille on that one.
I love her. She is awesome. And I mean, she's another really powerful example of like age is not something to hold you back, because she's been killing it for years now and doing so well. And, you know, a lot of people are surprised when they hear your age. And I was just surprised to hear your age. And like, I know you were a master's competitor, but I mean, do you want to share? Because okay, yes, I still want to talk to you about those like injuries and illnesses you faced getting in onto those stages and getting into your pro card, but I also want to know like what inspired the lifting, because I think this will surprise people as well. So can you walk us through that?
Yes. So I was diagnosed in December of 2016 with osteopenia, which is early osteoporosis. So it really means that you have weak bones. And I had absolutely no idea I had that, number one. And I've had it for probably 4 years before I was diagnosed. And how I know
Wow.
that is 4 years, before that, my husband and I, when we were first dating, he gave me a really big hug after not seeing me for a long time, and he broke my rib.
Oh my God, I just got the chills. That's horrible.
Yeah. And I was surprised my rib broke so easily, but of course I didn't know anything about osteopenia. And then that healed. And then in the next 3 years, I had more broken bones. I broke 3 toes, and I also had another fractured rib from having bronchitis. Like I coughed really hard when I was sick
Yeah.
and fractured another rib. So
Oh
I had
no.
two broken ribs and 3 broken toes. And finally, my husband was like, you should probably go get checked. And I went and did a bone density test, and I had severe osteopenia. And so my doctor said that if I don't start doing weight resistance training, I would have a big problem in the next couple of years. And, I'm still fairly young to be having osteoporosis, because you usually don't get that until you're like, much older. And so it was weird. I was not deficient in vitamin D, like most people would think. I was not deficient in calcium at all either. It was mostly genetic. So I'm half Asian. My mom's from Taiwan. I'm half Taiwanese. And the Asian race, basically, they don't usually eat a lot of calcium or have a lot of calcium in their diet. So just genetically, osteopenia and porosis runs rampant in the Asian community more than any other race. So my doctor said mine was more genetic. And so he didn't want to give me any kind of temporary like supplement or anything like that, because I didn't really need it. But he told me that I had to start doing weight resistance training like 2 to 3 days a week. And it wasn't an option to not do it. He's like, this is serious. So at the time I was like out of shape. I was the heaviest I ever was for myself personally, and so unmotivated. But I thought, okay, I'm going to hire a trainer and I'm going to do it. And let me tell you, the first 3 months, I absolutely hated every second of it. I would be late to my training sessions. That's when you know you don't like to do something, is when you're late.
Yes.
And oh my God, I just struggled because, being out of shape, and I couldn't do any weight bearing exercises that had the weight on my shoulders, because
Wow.
like squats or anything like that, because of my osteopenia, I could fracture a bone in my spine, my doctor said. So I hired the best trainer here in the Central Coast. She was super smart. She had a master's in like everything. She knew exactly how to work around all of my issues, my osteopenia, and she was great. And, muscle memory is a strong thing. And I think because I was a extreme athlete as a kid, I ran track and field since I was 6 years old. And then I was in Junior Olympics. And then I did cross country and track in high school, and a full scholarship in cross country running in college. I think my body
Wow.
had like good, like muscle memory. And after 3 to 4 months of training, my body completely transformed. Even I was surprised. And my trainer at the time, she said, I think you should think about competing. And I was like, what? I didn't even think I could ever do that. I was like, no. And she's like, no, I'm serious. You should do it. You can enter the bikini division. So that's
Wow.
how it all started.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, she must have been really smart because you have been killing it and you killed it when you did it. And um I can't imagine though like going through that experience of breaking bones, it's a great thing that your husband was like, you should probably get that checked out, not just like continue to break bones and be okay with it. I think that's a huge lesson. And then you go and the doctor doesn't give you medications. He's smart enough to say, you got genetics, let's get you lifting, let's get you having this healthier lifestyle. You embarked on that, but he also warned you, like you can't do overhead and you can't do squats because you will literally break bones. So I'm wondering if when you started exercising in this way, lifting weights, did you have a lot of pain in your bones?
I didn't have any pain at all in my bones, but I just knew that I could not do certain things at all. I had pain elsewhere just from being so out of shape, but yeah, no pain in my bones per se, except 1 month, like the first month I started December 1st of 2016, working out with my trainer, and Christmas Day, I broke a toe. I wasn't even doing anything. Like, this is how brittle my bones were. I was sitting Indian style at my mother-in-law's house, and I was taking pictures of my kids opening their Christmas presents, and I tried to get up to get a better angle, and my toe got caught on the rug and snapped in half.
Oh my, that's a visual. Dang.
Yeah, so that was 30 days after I started my trainer. So then my next 3 months of working out with her, I worked out in a boot.
Gosh.
Yeah.
It takes a special kind of person, though, to say, like, I'm done with this. I'm going to commit to what I need to do so that I don't have to deal with this anymore. And it's now obviously made an even bigger impact on your life because now this is a real hobby. It's a real sport for you. It's something that you enjoy. And like you said, this is something that you got diagnosed with at a younger age than most people, but you're also in this bodybuilding community that, some people are afraid. I have women message me who are in their, mid to late 20s. And they're like, I'm too old to do well now, or it's too late for me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So when you started competing, did you feel this way? Like, did you feel like you were too old, or maybe as you got immersed in competing and saw what it was about, did you ever feel like that?
I don't know if I felt like I was too old. I just felt like I hadn't done, a ton of athletics since I was so competitive, like in my 20s. And I was so busy in my career. So for like the next 20 years, I really didn't do much. So when just the thought of competing, I was like, oh no, I can't do that anymore. So I didn't really think of it because of my age. I just thought, like, especially because I was so out of shape when I started working out with my trainer, I just thought I can't compete. That's what I thought initially. Because it just seems so, like, you see the pictures of all the amazing, bikini girls, and it just looks like it's unattainable or it takes so long. But actually, if you work hard, it won't take that long, to get in shape.
Yes, I love that. And do you mind sharing how old you are?
Okay, drum roll. You ready?
Yeah.
I'm 52 and a half.
That is awesome. Like, that is so awesome because you are living proof that you can go after your dreams at any age. And not only that, but continuously pursue them.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I never look at age as, prohibiting me from doing anything. Actually, I always joke around and say I feel like they made a mistake on my birth certificate because there is nothing about me that feels like 52 at all. Well, every now and then my body will be like, girl, slow down, But other than that, it's like I always have lots of energy, and I don't feel like my age at all.
That's even better. I mean, you definitely don't look your age.
Oh, thank you. That's
You're
so
welcome.
nice.
Of course. Seriously, like, I'll have what you're having. And it's awesome. Like, it's just cool because that means you earned your pro card after you were 50.
I did my very first show, the show that you and I competed in together, at 50. So I did my first show ever at age 50.
So awesome.
Yeah, never start.
So amazing. And did you ever think you'd end up an IFBB pro?
I mean, when I first started, no, but once I got in shape and I competed, and then after my first show, I thought I can 100% do this for sure.
Yes.
I'm going to turn pro. Yeah. I knew I would at some point because I just thought if they can do it, I can do it, you know? But I also think that that doesn't go with everything. Like, am I going to be a world-class violinist? No, I don't have any musical talent at all. But I think if you're in some sort of industry and you are pretty good, or you have, like even a little bit of talent, if there's something that you want to do or pursue or become the best at, I think anybody can do it. It's just a matter of how bad you want it. That's just what I
Oof.
think.
I absolutely love the way that you put that. Like, you're realistic in the goal, but you also recognize the talent you have, and you say, well, there's no doubt I could take that to the next level.
Yeah, and also too, I was, I'm super competitive. I was always an athlete since I was 6 years old, and I was used to like an elite level of conditioning, and like even in elementary school, everybody would get to play outside after school. I'd have to go to my training camps. Like, I didn't ever
Yeah.
play after school with other kids. I was they used to call Junior Olympics AAU back in the day, and so I was on an
Yes.
AAU team, and we had to do like intense training every day after school. So, and then that also applies to when you're in varsity athletics in high school, and college as well. So I was kind of used to that. And when I saw, like, after my first show, and I thought, okay, I want to turn pro, what do I have to do? I knew I had the mindset and the perseverance and determination to get there if my body would let
Yes.
me.
You're a collegiate athlete. You killed it. You've been an athlete your whole entire life. And yeah, like you said, your body remembers. And there is a level of discipline and commitment that comes in. Not to say that in order to do well in this sport, you have to have been an athlete, you have to understand what that's like, but you need to be able to tap into that mentality, tap into that, like, it's important for me to train, it's important for me to focus on this goal, and it's possible. And I remember growing up in playing volleyball. It was like, that was my life. It was like year round, all the time. That's all I did. That's all I wanted to do. And I was training for it constantly. And there's no doubt that that shows up in the way that I approach bodybuilding now. Like, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that, when I'm doing sprints, it's like I can remember days in my volleyball career where I was like really pushing to be the best on the team, to start, to continue to
Yep.
keep my starting spot, to get a collegiate invite to even just come and visit a school, to make it to AAUs with my team. Like, those things, like, it can still inspire you, because it shows you that, like, with that dedication, you can accomplish it. And I think that's something that if we tap into as athletes now, no matter what age, no matter what time, we're going to be successful because we're choosing that.
Absolutely. And there's so much competition out there, so many amazing athletes, some people who are genetically gifted more than others, or, whatever. But I just think the difference between someone being great and someone being greater is the amount of dedication and discipline that you put into it. Because everybody works hard, but you have to go the extra mile, the extra step. Like, I just finished watching awesome show on Netflix, The Last Dance, about Michael Jordan and the last, great season of the Chicago Bulls. And if anybody wants to be inspired, watch that.
I'll watch it.
And just watching Michael Jordan and how he became the greatest of all time is, when everyone else was out at the clubs drinking and partying, he was practicing at midnight drinking orange juice,
Yes.
because he had goals. And so it's the difference of, like, what are you going to do different, than everybody else? Because there's a lot of people that are great, but you have to be greater, and you have to do things better than everyone else and work harder and, give it 200%, not 100%.
Oh, yes. And if you look at those top athletes, they enjoy it. Like, they literally love the game. They love the sport. They love the game. They love the process. They're committed to it. And they even make it so that they can continue to train and can continue to play without having, like, in their contracts, essentially. It's like, there's people who love the
Yeah.
game, and then there's people who, like, just play because, they're getting paid bank. They've played their whole life. They love it, but they're not like obsessed with it. It's a different level. And I like how you put that, like, the difference between being great and being the greatest. It's like, what are you willing to do? And are you willing to do it in a way that you enjoy. And I'm actually curious because you yourself have had a few different coaches. You've taken I'm assuming a few different approaches to actually getting to where you are now. So how have your preps been different? And have you found more enjoyment in one approach versus the other?
You know, I think that I've had 3 coaches. I'm on my 3rd coach, and all of them played a vital role in my journey. And each one of them were the most perfect coach at the time that I needed them. So in the beginning, my first coach, she was super smart, and she knew exactly how to work around all of my, all my injuries, my osteopenia, and how to make me strong and making it safe for me to work out. She was absolutely the most perfect coach at the time. She was local here, and she really had the hardest job, I feel like. She was great. And she was a former figure athlete, national level as well. So she kind of understood, what it took to like start competing, etc. And then after that, when I wanted to go to nationals, I wanted to be with somebody who understood bikini, because she was more of a figure competitor. Well, she was a figure competitor and wasn't so current on bikini. So I really wanted to go with a coach that was going to take me to the national level. And me living here in San Luis Obispo, Santa Cruz is just 2 hours away. And who's better than Camille? I always looked up to her, especially because she was an older competitor as well and has made such a great name for herself. And I was super excited. So I joined Team Pulse, and plus her husband, Chris Ellis, another pro. You have 2 pros right there with you. And I joined Camille, and she absolutely sculpted my body, in a different way, and taught me a lot about the bikini industry. I mean, I had some great conversations with her, and I remember at Governor's Cup, it was just her and I sitting backstage with my feet up right before finals. And I had such a nice talk with her for an hour, and she taught me so much about the business. So I'm always grateful to her for that. And then Camille doesn't really coach athletes anymore because she started her own gym, Santa Cruz Power Fitness. And then she has so many businesses going on that she wasn't coaching anymore. And so I needed somebody who was going to help me turn pro. And I did a lot of research. There's a lot of amazing coaches out there, but I decided on my current coach, Shane, hugely, because nobody has turned more people pro than him. And just love his approach. And I'm super happy with him. And it was absolutely the right choice because he turned me pro, for sure.
That's awesome. And something I appreciate about you is that you acknowledge that each of these coaches brought something necessary to the table and to your journey, and that it was with perfect timing. And I remember listening to the Coaches Elite podcast hosted by Ryan Hinton, who he's been on this show actually before for Coaches Week. And he was talking to Amber the Hammer, that coach Amber, the team Hammer, whatever. I believe it was with him. They were talking about how, if sometimes girls will hop straight in with one coach, but they're not ready for that coach yet. And that coach isn't going to be the right fit. And it's like, sometimes there's a process that comes with it where maybe you're ready to up level to a different coach. And it sounds like you had an experience like that, where it was like, okay, this was good. Now I need this. That was great. Now I need that. And each step you took was the right step. And did you have any doubts about moving on from a coach? Was that difficult for you? Or was it just like, nope, cool, and they understood? Like, how was that to actually leave your coach and choose a new one?
I think you just have to understand yourself and your own journey and what you need. I'm a very self-aware person, and I do lots of research. Like when I was interested in this bodybuilding industry, I studied incessantly everything. Like the minute I was interested, I was like, okay, NBC News Online is our media outlet. I need to follow them, who are the best coaches, who are the Olympians. And so every time I got to a different stage, I wanted to take it to the next level. And I kept thinking to myself, who's going to help me get there? I needed to learn more about the bikini industry. So Camille, I knew would help me get there, and then I needed to turn pro, and I knew Shane would help me get there. But, it's interesting that you say that, because I could never have been on the team I'm on now with Shane if I was brand new, because in my opinion, he's not really a coach that's going to hold your hand. And I don't really need a lot of hand holding, but you have to think, like, what do you want out of a coach? Because there's a lot of great coaches out there. Some people might need a little more hand holding, or some people might need a little more of this or that. I like Shane's style of coaching. It works for me. Kind of reminds me of my coaches that I had in Junior Olympics. It's like super disciplined, you know, take no prisoner, work hard, no excuses. He's very straightforward. So if you don't have thick skin, probably not the coach for you, but I want someone who's going to tell me straight out, you know, and he was absolutely the right coach for where I am right now.
Yes. And with that said, he also was expressing a lot of belief in you leading up to your to earning your pro card, leading up to your second national show. And it felt I remember in one of your posts you said it felt unshakable, like that belief that he had. How did that make a difference for you, and how did he express that belief in you that made that influence?
From day one, he's been my biggest cheerleader. Like, one thing I love about him, and I know a lot of my teammates feel this way too, is he is your biggest advocate, your biggest cheerleader. Absolutely. He believes in you almost more than you believe in yourself. And I flew out to Salt Lake City to work on my posing with his wife, Tiffany, is our posing coach. And I remember when I was there, I was talking to him, asking him, like, you know, do you think I could make it to the pro leagues? And he was like, 100% no doubt. Like, that's what he said to me. And even when I doubted myself, just to hear your coach say that, like, I wanted to cry.
Yeah, of course.
And, you know, never once did he ever mention my age. He knows how old I am. I'm probably the oldest person on his team, but, you know, he never once mentioned my age ever. And it's interesting because when I was registering for nationals, I asked him what categories does he think I should register for, and he was telling me what age categories. I asked him, do you think I should do the open? And he said, I think you can absolutely be competitive in the open, but why? Why do it? Because masters goes on early in the morning, first thing, and the open is the last in the day. So if you want to do the open as well as masters, your body's going to have to hang on all those hours to look fresh, you know what I mean?
Smart.
Later in the day. And he's like, it's not that I don't think you can do it. I don't think it's a smart choice. If you can do masters, stick with masters. And he's right, 2000%.
Strategic.
Yeah, because like I'm going on at 10 in the morning for masters, right? And they were so behind at my first national show that I don't think open went on until 4. So, you know, you take the chance of spilling over, getting watery, or, you know, there's so many things, so many factors that can happen, just even, you know, being backstage.
Exactly. And if you have a stressful, you know, situation like you did where you are running too good, now you got to calm down, get reset, reevaluate the body, because when you're like national level lean, I should say, like things show up and you can really notice it even more.
Yeah, and he made a good point too. It's like, you know, bodybuilding, this sport has evolved so much. These shows are getting bigger and bigger. And at the national level, the categories, there's like, sometimes there can be 40 girls in your class. And so, you know, these shows can be so long. And by the time you're backstage waiting your turn to get on stage could be a long time. So, you know, you just, everything, like the stars have to be aligned, you know what I mean? Even Angelica at the Olympia last year talked about how she, you know, she goes on last because she was the defending champion. And she was just back there so long that she ended up spilling over a little bit. She talked about it herself. And so that's a perfect example of like, you just have to be smart when you're competing and listen to your coach. They know best. And being coachable, I also think is key as well.
Absolutely. And you said you really like his approach. How is it different than past approaches, or what is it that you like? And I mean, just in general, because I know it's going to be different for everyone. Like some people prefer one approach or one method versus another. So I'm curious just like what different parts and pieces or things you've enjoyed over your journey in this, you know, road to pro and now heading into prep for a pro debut in 2021.
Are you talking with Shane?
In general, like have you learned about an approach or method? I mean, maybe it is Shane's that you really enjoy or like.
I think is important is he's old school bodybuilding. And I think some people don't like that. I like that. And what I mean by that is he doesn't change your workouts. It's the same workouts. You know what I mean? Year after year. It's your same workout. It's all about increasing your weight, getting better, and not doing so many different exercises, And one thing that he talks about is everyone always mentions like, I want to do something different, or I'm going to do all these new exercises, but that doesn't always work, So
Right.
his philosophy is, you stick to the same program year after year and you get better and better. And I think it was a YouTube that I watched of Jay Cutler, and he was saying that he's had the same workout plan for like 10 years.
I remember that.
And yeah. And so no matter what your feedback is, he can tweak a little bit, but it's also, just kind of sticking to like an old school bodybuilding technique, which I think there's something to that.
Yes. And
variety isn't always better.
Exactly. There's something about consistency, not just in showing up to do what you got to do, but also in what you're doing. And that really gives you an opportunity as an athlete to use progressive overload, to change up tempo, to change up rep range, volume, whatever it is that you can manipulate aside from just like throwing a new exercise in. You look at like power lifters, right? They're focused on 3 moves. That's it. And that's what they train. And they have a few accessories here and there. Even that doesn't change much. But like there's a reason why they keep getting better, because they're focused on that. Well, I shouldn't say every single one of them, but a lot of them, they get better because they're focused on that movement. Like, how are you actually executing the movement, right? If you're constantly looking for variety, constantly mixing it up,
Absolutely.
you may not focus on every single portion of that movement. Like how, like, for example, like if you on your plan, you have sumo deadlifts, right? And you go into the gym week 1 doing sumo deadlifts, maybe you're not focused on the eccentric movement. Maybe you're not focused on your glutes squeezing. And the next week, if that program now gets changed, sumo deads aren't on it. Did you really benefit from it? Probably not.
That 100%. Totally. Mm-hmm. And how do you know if you're getting better if you're constantly changing your workout program? And another thing too is he's very old school, that when it gets down to prep, it's basic foods, and I think sometimes social media can be misleading, and I feel bad for new competitors sometimes because there's so much information. It's like information overload, but there's also a lot of bad information out there. And in my opinion, if you want to be successful, whether it's getting your pro card or being a top pro, diet is so critical. It is almost more important, right? Diet is key. And it's basic foods. It's not like you're going to use these fancy sugar-free everything. I mean, maybe in your improvement season, but I mean, when you're getting down to starting prep, it's basics. It's the basic food for fuel, seeing food as fuel, and not, I don't know, you see things posted all the time about like they're eating this in prep and they're eating that in prep, and then they wonder why they're not successful. Because if you look at all the top Olympians, their food's very basic.
It's a very good point. You're very right. You look at the top 5, they're all pretty much posting and eating the same thing, to be honest. And it doesn't mean you can't be successful, but it's kind of like, let's look at the common denominators. And there's common denominators in their posing, there's common denominators in their diet, there's common denominators in their presentation. I was like just watching the Olympia again this past week on my phone or whatever during cardio, because that's what you do, right? And I was like,
yeah, totally.
I'm like, also sometimes when I do that, I'm like, dang, like these people around me, like good thing I have a security screen, because like it's just like holding the back pose, and I'm like, people probably think this is so weird who don't know what bodybuilding is. Like, I'm not just like watching these girls. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Totally.
But I'm like watching it and I'm like, okay, let's find the common denominators here. And I noticed like every single girl in the top 5, and I know I'm getting a little off track from the diet, but every single girl in that top 5 lineup who actually ended up placing top 5, even when you look at top 6, okay, all these women walked slowly to the back and from the back to the front. All of these women also could have walked quickly and looked fine and good. So that was interesting to me. And so when we can find these common denominators, such as the diet, such as the posing, such as the presentation, we can actually learn like, okay, well, what's necessary? How might I hack the system? How might I be successful in this? Like, what's proven to work? And so you said you were looking for a coach who had proven methods that worked. And so that's what's worked for you. And I'm actually curious about a little bit more on your take with nutrition, because I remember you posting about how you eat, like, or maybe you don't anymore, but you were eating plant-based diet for a portion of the week. Do you still do that?
I do, actually.
Okay.
I mean, I love meat. I just do. I don't think I could ever be a vegan, but I do believe that there are some health benefits to eating a predominantly plant-based diet. So 3 days a week, I absolutely eat plant-based. But then I also still have chicken. I still eat red meat. I eat all of it. But I just think for optimum nutrition, I listen to Medical Medium. I really like him a lot. And I just think balance is key. That's just how I feel. And so it's been working for me. It may not work for everybody. And I like doing it. I feel good. I actually feel like my digestion probably feels even a little better when I eat plant-based, but I don't think I could eat plant-based 7 days a week. It's like perfect happy median for myself.
I love plant-based foods. I love vegan foods, vegetarian. I mean, I eat meat every single day, like 6 times a day, but
Me too.
I
And
definitely
I love
don't
eggs so
discriminate.
much.
Oh, I'm not an egg fan. I can't do it. I mean, I do it. I eat
Really?
them, but I don't. I'm not like eggs on the meal plan. Yum.
Yeah, no, but see, that's what would keep me from being vegan, I think, is I love eggs and I love dairy. I mean, oh my God, I'm such a cheesehead.
Dairy.
I'm such a foodie that people always are, like, my friends are always shocked that I could even do this bodybuilding sport, because they're like, you're such a foodie. How do you do it? And it's true. I love food, and I used to be the worst eater. I mean, I still love fast food, I'll be honest.
Yeah, yeah.
I love Taco Bell and I love In-N-Out and things like that. But it is true. Once you start competing and you start eating different, you realize how much better you feel, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
do I treat myself every now and then? Yeah. But it's just every now and then now, because I just don't feel good, and I'm not going to perform my best when I'm eating like that either. And I always kind of pay for it the next day, even though it's fun, but it just organically changes. I don't know how to explain it to anybody, but I even had a good friend ask me the other day, like, I still can't believe that, you don't eat the way you used to. And I think it just kind of happened organically. Like, as you get in better shape and you start seeing how much better you look, you start feeling how much better you feel, you just don't want to eat like that anymore. Like, it doesn't even appeal to me as much as it did before.
Absolutely. And like, I'm obviously a psych junkie. I love everything psychology and mindfulness, everything. So what I've learned from that too is it's about reinforcements, positive and negative reinforcements. So if you get positively reinforced for making a healthy decision, such as a desirable change in your body that you wanted, desirable change in function, desirable change in whatever way, it's a positive reinforcement, then your brain makes a connection that says, okay, this is a better behavior than that. And it reinforces that behavior. So it makes sense that it would feel like it was organic, because over time, is being positively reinforced, feeling good, feeling energized, really liking the way things are looking. You're not having your bones break as much. So your body's like, all right, this is good. This feels really great. And so over
Absolutely.
time, we don't crave the stuff that wasn't associated with those results.
Yeah, no, totally. And I'm thankful I don't have a sweet tooth, because I know if I did, that would probably be the worst. I mean, I like savory things, and that's bad enough,
You like
but I'm
cheese.
just thankful. Oh, mac and cheese, garlic bread, chips. I mean, French fries, sweet potato
That's
fries,
so
like
funny.
anything savory, all about that. Love bread. But yeah, I could bake my kids cookies, chocolate chip cookies during prep and not be tempted.
That's funny. I'm not sure how. I think I'm a mix of both, but I would be the first person to grab a sweet versus a savory for sure. Like if there's a bag of chips or a plate of cookies, like definitely plate of cookies.
Oh, really? Yeah. See, everybody's different. And even like post-show, when people ask me about post-show treats, like everybody's dying to have like Oreos or any of those things. That actually grosses me out after post-show because, there's just things that you do backstage to get your muscles pumped, like, tablespoon of honey or whatever it may be. And so my body's actually craving something savory. I never crave
Yeah.
anything sweet post-show.
I
Actually.
understand that. I think if we take a step back, a lot of that is like perceived cravings, and I help girls with their relationship with food, and this is something that I've just learned from doing that is a lot of times it's just because our industry promotes it as a norm. Like, oh, it's normal to just like binge
So
eat
true.
after. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna go eat all the sweets, all the Oreos, I'm gonna pack all this cake, they're gonna have a donut wall, like all these different things, right? So it's like it's a perceived norm. So we sometimes have, I think, perceived hunger cravings for that. And I like to always tell girls, like, your post show, just like ask yourself, what do you actually feel like? What do you actually want? Probably going to surprise yourself, and you really do that, you end up being surprised. And like you said, for you, you crave savory, but it's like if you just gave into like the norm and someone's like, have a cookie, have this, have that, and you started eating it just to eat it because that's what you did, well, that could send different signals to your brain that could then not give your body what it was actually wanting and craving. So I think it's really cool that you can acknowledge what your body actually wants.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I did have a couple bites of a donut once, and I was like, my body doesn't want that, But I love how you help people with food and,
Oh, thank
learn
you.
good eating. No, that is so important. I mean, it's vital, and I commend you for doing that.
Thank you. It's my passion. I'm like so excited about it
I,
every day.
oh, I can tell, and you're so good at it. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you. Well, I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. And yeah, it's just awesome to know that I can do that and to kind of have that, I guess, influence on the industry and change it. And I actually was curious. You mentioned earlier that you went from college and doing athletics, and then you were growing a lot in your career. What was your career?
I was in retail fashion for 25 years, actually. And it's funny
Wow.
because I was never one of those kids, yeah, that like knew what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Uh-huh.
I like career day, I was like, I don't know, am I going to amount to anything? There was like, what I do know is I did not want to be in a cubicle. I'm just not a cubicle person at all. And I hate math. So I knew it was never going to be anything in finances. And it was funny because junior year of college, they wouldn't let me register because I didn't declare a major. And they asked me why. And I said, I absolutely despise math so much. And I know I'll never use calculus in my life, and I don't want to take it. So is there a major I can take where I'll never have to do math again? And they're trying to convince me that I might be doing calculus one day in my career. And I said, I can promise you I will never. So they said, well, sociology, you don't have to take any math. And I go, perfect, I'm a sociology major. And it was the study of people. And I love people. So that's
That's
how
awesome.
that's what I majored in college. And I've always worked retail jobs when I was younger. And it was just my passion. My mom was so stylish and she always was into it. And so I got into it, and it just ended up organically becoming my career. I went from like sales associate to, key holder to manager to regional manager, district manager. So I ended up running some pretty big retail companies at a district and regional level for like Tory Burch, Barney's. I've worked for every major department store. I had my own boutique for 5 years in Newport Beach.
Wow.
And that's what I did as a career for 25 years.
That's amazing. And you retired?
You know, my last job was I was district manager for BCBG Max Azria in the LA area. Well, it was
Uh-huh.
Hawaii and Guam first, and then they transferred me to LA. And then I met my husband, and he lived here in San Luis Obispo. And so I was doing the commute for a while, and then it was killing me because it was too far. So I did end up leaving retail. And, I live in a small town. There's only like 45,000 people here. There's no big retail, place to work here at all. So I just had to reinvent myself. So I'm in the process of doing that right now. And I really want to do something still in the industry and also with, fitness and wellness and helping women over 40, with their fitness goals as well, because I think that that's such a niche that's needed. I see so many of my friends say, oh, I could never do it, I'm too old. And I don't ever want anybody to feel that way.
I love that. I can tell. I can tell that's something you're really passionate about and excited about. It's something that is needed, and we need to be able to live in a world where women of all ages feel that they can still pursue their goals. There's no time limit, there's no stop, right? That's something that I notice is like we put so much expectations on age or what you should have accomplished by this time or what needs to have happened by this. And it's like, why not just do what's best for you? Why not just continue to believe in yourself and continue to go after what you really want without putting these limits that who even like when did we decide that, right?
Exactly. And like 50 is like the new 40. And I'm not just saying that to be cliche, but it really is. I mean, if you saw my age 50 category at nationals, holy moly. I
Oh
mean,
my
these girls
gosh.
were fire. I mean, these age categories are the masters. And that's why I hope as this sport is evolving so much that one day there is a Masters Arnold and there is a Masters Olympia, because I see it going that way. I mean, there's so many Masters competitors that would love to compete at that level. And I hope the sport goes that way one day.
Hey, that's a really great idea. I
Yeah,
love that.
I would be the first to do that.
You be the first one, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I would love that. I mean, you think about how much the sport has evolved just in the past, 5 years. I mean, it's still so new. I think bikini started
Mhm.
in 2009, and look where the sport has come now, just in every category. And Olympia's got a brand new venue at the Planet Hollywood, and it's just going to get more
So cool.
exposure. And um, the North American, where I got my pro card last year, I saw an interview where JM was doing an interview with Daraja Hill, who won the overall
Mhm.
at in the Open, and he was telling her that that North American national show was the largest national show in
Yes.
history or something. So this sport is just getting bigger and bigger. I mean, even The Rock is becoming a promoter with his Athleticon. That was supposed to be this year, but
Yes.
now got 2021. I mean, just look at where the sport is going. So I can totally see that happening. I hope I'm just not 60 by the time it happens, though.
And if you are, it doesn't matter because you still be killing it.
Oh, we'll see about that. I can do it.
You're right though. Like this sport has evolved a lot and um it's obvious that if you look at like the trends that are happening and the people getting involved, it's a business, it's a business for
Huge.
sure. But
Yeah.
it's one that brings a lot of fulfillment to a lot of people and something that comes with passion and dedication, like we talked about before earlier, just like really loving it. And I think that's what's cool to witness too. Now, I've been going back and forth when I think about the teen categories. I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that yet. I kind of am like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I go back and forth. I'm like, I got to think about that one further. But it's almost like we should really focus on growing at that time, not cutting to get stage lean. Should be like really focused on
I know.
building a base. But I digress.
Yeah.
I
I
do love
know.
the idea though.
There's been some amazing teen competitors come out of it. I know, like Beatrice Biscaya, she's was a teen competitor, and so was Courtney King. But I hear you about that, and especially you helping girls, with like eating, and they're still growing.
Hmm.
I think that's why it's probably not such a big category, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of those girls too, like once they start competing, it's like they're already like they've got a base. They were athletes, they were eating already. They were doing things that made sense and some weren't, but it is interesting. I think again, it's almost just that individuality. We have to be mindful as an individual, like, is this really the right move? And hopefully, educated coaches and promoters who can help someone in a potentially vulnerable position make the best decision for themselves, having that support team, having that system, the education, podcasts like this and other outlets as well can really help, I think, girls who are thinking about it to ask deeper questions, ask, more insightful questions, like where do I really want to be in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So I actually want to talk to you about your kind of process through a lot of like emotional and physical setbacks, and not even setbacks, but more so adversities that you overcame and faced in your journey becoming a pro. Do you mind
Yeah,
breaking down some of those experiences or difficulties that you did face?
sure, absolutely. I don't think I've had a season without a setback yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for one. But, you know, even my first month in getting in shape, I told you when I first started training, 30 days into it, I broke a toe. And after I broke that toe and I was working towards my first show, we were going to do the Tahoe show, which was going to be in August of 2017. Well, July 4th weekend, I ended up breaking another toe. So I was unable to do the Tahoe show. So then that got pushed back even more. And I needed 3 more months to heal after that. And, you know, it doesn't take 3 months to heal a broken toe, but because I had osteopenia issues, my bones heal slower than someone who doesn't have osteopenia. So it takes me a lot longer. So I missed the Tahoe show in August 2017. So I put my goal of the Gold Coast Classic, the one that you and I did together, in February of 2018. So that's why that was my first show.
That's amazing,
and
actually, to think about.
Yeah,
that's a
no,
long
totally.
gap.
And total long gap. But it never stopped me because I was determined to do a bodybuilding show. And then in that December before that show, I got a really bad hernia. And, you know, believe it or not, I was doing triceps of all things.
Oh.
And I don't know what happened. Obviously, it was like in the making already. But that was like the straw that broke the camel's back, per se, as I was doing one of my tricep push downs and I felt something pop in my stomach.
Oh.
And I ended up having huge tear, a huge hernia. Yeah. Went to the doctor and he was like, you cannot do this show. And that was right before the Gold Coast Classic. But I was like, nothing's stopping me from doing this show because I've had so many setbacks. I was determined. Mm-hmm. So I did the Gold Coast Classic and my doctor said, okay, well, let's schedule you for your surgery. And I was like, no, I want to do one more show. And he was very against it. Not happy, but I said, please let me do this one last show, which was Governor's Cup. And he said, the minute you're done with that show, you're in surgery. So 9 days after Governor's Cup, I had hernia surgery. So
whoa. How did that impact your plans post-show?
I was really bummed out, actually, because, you know, I wanted to go to nationals that year. And Camille was like, you have a great chance to go to nationals this year. But I told Camille, I don't know how I'm going to do it because I have to have hernia surgery in April. And so I asked my doctor if I could just do Masters Nationals in July. And he was like, absolutely not. So I had to get that hernia surgery and it put me out of nationals that entire season. Mm-hmm. So I was unable to do nationals in 2018, which I was so bummed about. And then 3 months after my hernia, I had an umbilical hernia. I got shingles. And I don't know if anybody knows what that is, but that is extremely painful. So it does happen commonly in people over 50. And I woke up one day and I had this rash on the side of my abdomen. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was just a rash. And then all of a sudden I started experiencing excruciating pain. I went to the urgent care, actually, and they're like, you have shingles. And let me tell you, that was very painful. So that put me out another 6 weeks. And that was like end of August 2018. And so I started training again because I really wanted to go to nationals. And so that was that setback. And then I joined Shane in February of 2019, training for nationals. And 1 week before Universe, my first national show, I got an upper respiratory infection, which was horrible. I had the worst earache, sinus infection, everything. And you know how it is when you pay for all these shows, there's no refunds, you know? Mm-hmm. And so even though it wasn't even about the money, I had so many setbacks. I had already missed the 2018 national season that I was determined to go to this national show, sick or not. So I ended up going to Universe with an upper respiratory infection. And because, you know, between the travel time and the early makeup call times, you know, we wake up, like 4:35 in the morning for our makeup. I didn't get a lot of sleep for like 3 days in a row. That upper respiratory infection went into bronchitis. And 2 days after Universe, I was in the emergency room for bronchitis.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. And then that was July. Oh, and I couldn't do Masters Nationals again that year. My coach was like, okay, you got second at Universe, you know, in the 50. And he's like, I think you have a great chance you could win at Masters Nationals. And I was like, I can't go. I'm in the emergency room. He was like, what? So I missed Masters Nationals again. That show just wasn't in my cards, I guess. So my next one was North American. And that was July 7th. I think I was in the emergency room, and then North American was August 28th.
Mm-hmm.
So I had like 7 weeks. Well, the doctor told me I couldn't do cardio for like 2 to 3 weeks because I had bronchitis. So I had 0 cardio in the month of July.
Wow.
And the beginning of August, my coach was like, do you even want to do North American? And I was like, hell yeah. And he was concerned that I wasn't going to be lean enough, because imagine you're going into nationals and you can't do cardio.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, how are you going to be lean enough? So he said, if you want to do North American, it's going to be brutal getting there. And I said, I don't care. I'll do whatever it takes. And I can't tell you, it was the most painful prep I've ever had in my life.
How
You want to talk about digging deep and like doing whatever it takes. And, he just kept saying, I know it's going to be probably very hard, but don't give anybody a reason to beat you. And I love Shane for that. He tells you things like that, where like he's telling you in a stern way, but it's also super motivating, because, just referring again to that Michael Jordan Netflix show I was watching, every time someone told him he couldn't do something, that just fueled his fire. And so that I'm kind of like that same way, not comparing myself to Michael Jordan, please, but I'm just saying, like, I resonated with that, because when Shane said, don't give anybody a reason to beat you if you want it that bad, I said, I'll do whatever it takes. And I did. I didn't cheat one time. And I can't tell you, it was the most painful prep I ever had, I will be honest.
Was it like just a lot more of a caloric deficit?
Oh, it was everything. It was like caloric deficit. It was, cardio, because I couldn't do cardio in July. So I basically had to cram in 3 weeks what someone normally would do in 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It was just painful.
Do you mind me asking what kind of cardio you were doing and how long?
I don't want to give away all his secrets, but it was a lot of cardio. Let's just put it that way. It was 2 a day cardio, extreme, and it was, major calorie deficit for sure, because you have to, right? I mean, everybody's in a caloric deficit.
Do sometimes. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it was the most extreme of extremes I've ever done in my life, for sure. And he was like, if you do this, I think we'll be there. And I'll never forget, we do a team posing class the day before the show, like at the hotel. And that's another thing I love about my team. They're so organized. And I remember I ran through my posing, and he just looked at me and he said, we're ready. Like, I just went in my hotel room and cried, because I was like, oh my God, I had so many setbacks, just trying to get here. And he just said, if you can just hang on, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It was painful. I did have to go that night. Most people carb up the night before a show. I couldn't do that. I couldn't carb up, because he's like, you look ready right now. Mm-hmm. And we have a whole nother day. Let's not take the chance or whatever. And so that was brutal, watching everybody eat around me. And I was just like, okay, I'll just be having air today.
Yep. Been there. I know how that goes. When the coach goes through each girl at the show, like burger and fries, steak and fries, just stick with your usual meal. And I'm like, excuse me, hold on. Did you just tell her? Wait, are you pointing at me right now? Yeah, no, definitely understand that. But then you have those shows where like the opposite is true. So it's great that you had like that commitment to the goal and the vision. How was your recovery after that show?
I have to say it was great, because the pre-show, obviously, and then show day too, you're just like, oh my God, I just got to hang on. And that night we went to the Cheesecake Factory. I was so excited to eat, but I was so overstimulated, I think, from winning. And then also too, just from, just how your body's in that state of like that extreme caloric deficit and everything. I couldn't really enjoy it that much, because your body's not that hungry. It's kind of like anticlimactic, actually.
Oh yeah, totally.
But I had a few bites. I had a couple bites of here and there, and then that was it. My stomach just wasn't in the mood to eat. And then the next week or two was great. But I have to tell you, Shane reversed me. And I think this is the first time I actually did a true reverse, because after Governor's Cup, I just had to go into surgery. I didn't really have time to like reverse or, anything like that. But Shane has a great reverse program. And I think that was key because he's all about, let's not ruin all your hard work. You can reward yourself, but we don't want to shock your body. You got to, slowly reverse back into it. And so I had a very successful reverse after my show.
Nice.
Actually.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That was very huge. So that was good.
Good. And now you're in prep for your pro debut, right?
Oh, or yeah. Maybe... So you want to talk about, setbacks again. So in November, I don't know what I did at the gym, but I really hurt my right, either shoulder or right lat, like rear delt, something around there. And I couldn't even lift my arm. It was so painful. So I couldn't really, and that was always my feedback again, build a bigger upper body for the pro stage, and then, bring fuller glutes. Everyone wants fuller glutes, of course. So I couldn't do any shoulder workouts for a couple months. And in January, I was back at it, feeling better again. And then at the end of January, I got that horrible bronchitis that turned into pneumonia, or AKA could have been coronavirus, I thought.
Yeah.
And I've never had it before, but I've never been sicker in my entire life than this past February. Like, ever. Yeah.
Wow.
Really sick. And on top of the pneumonia, I got something called pleurisy, which, because I just didn't know why I was in so much pain. Like my chest was in so much pain. And pleurisy is like the lining of your lung is called the pleura. And when your pleura is infected also with the pneumonia, it's called pleurisy. And you want to talk about pain. That was so painful. And I had that all the way until April when the whole lockdown happened. So I didn't work out for all of February, all of March, most all of April. And I just started back with my coach May 1st. And I've been on the struggle bus trying to get back into it. And it hasn't been easy, I will be honest, but I'm going.
Good for you. I mean, you have overcome so much personally, like with everything you face from injuries to illnesses. That's amazing. And whenever I hear stories like this, I always think of, like, this is the universe testing you. Like, how bad do you want this? Can you deal with that? Can you deal with this? And when, you go through that, then you're just like, I do want this. And I'm willing to face that. I'm willing to overcome it. I'm willing to do what it takes. And we really prove to ourselves and, I believe, there's like a higher power of some sort. And we're like, this is what I want. And like, I will do what it takes.
Exactly. But I'm like, haven't I already proved that? Can I just move on? Like,
you're like, okay, like how much more proof do you need?
Yeah. And the only thing that I can tell you where I do feel my age a little bit is, I used to run a lot, obviously, when I was a kid and in cross country and in college. I used to run 16 miles a day. So I have a really bad left knee. I have obviously a bad right shoulder right now. And I've had, several stress fractures in my feet. And also most recently, too, I was doing a lot of hill intervals because where I live, there's a lot of hills and I was feeling really good. It started hurting really bad and my ankle started swelling last month and I didn't know why. Went to the doctor and I actually sprained my arches, which I have no idea how I did that.
Yikes.
So I'm kind of slowly recovering from that. So I haven't been doing any lower body recently, but I just think every setback, is just better for the comeback. And I'm just determined to come back strong in 2021. I was going to do my pro debut at the end of this year, but with, this whole COVID situation and shows getting canceled and now me getting sick, I'm just going to take my first and longest off season ever, improvement season, and bring my best package ever in 2021. So that's what I plan on doing.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. That's awesome. I'm so excited for you. I can't wait to see that happen and just witness, that growth and evolution. And I'm sure that your body's going to be thanking you for taking this time as well.
Yes, I've been trying to be kind of my body and, talking to my body. I know that sounds funny, but I'm like, girl,
that's
you can do this.
I'm like all about that. To me, that's normal talk. Like, I think it's weird when people don't do that.
Yeah, self-love, Sometimes my husband will walk in the room and he's like, who are you talking to? I go, myself.
Best chick around. Yes.
Like before I work out, I'm always like, hey girl, we're going to kill shoulders today. You can do it, And so I just try to talk to myself and be kind to myself. And, you know, I just really appreciate, after being sick, you just appreciate your body, you know what I mean? And not that I didn't appreciate it before, but, you know, especially with everything going on, and, you know, I just appreciate every day that I can be in the gym. I'm grateful, you know?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that. It's so true. It's like you don't know what you got till it's gone type of a thing. And we take so much of
Absolutely.
that for granted. And it's like then when we have that freedom, when we have that ability, it's like, oh my gosh, I'll never take, I'll never take advantage of this again. Like I'll always appreciate that I can do this with my body. And that goes no matter what you face, whether it's positive or negative. It's like we just focus on celebrating our body for supporting us no matter what. That goes a long way.
You know, we're never all motivated every single day to go to the gym. Of course, we all have the days where we're like, oh, I don't want to go, you know. But now, every time I'm motivated to go to the gym, I always think to myself, you can breathe, because that was the worst feeling when I had pneumonia, just not being able to breathe well. And I'm like, listen, you can breathe. You have all your limbs. You know, you're healthy, sound in mind, and you're going to be able to kill this workout. No reason to not work out. So that actually motivates me on days that I don't feel so motivated.
I love that. I love that so much, like focusing on the function and the gift that our body is for us. And I mean, we've talked about so much already on this show, and I'd love to know if there's anything else that we didn't talk about yet that you really wanted to share before we get your best advice.
You know, I just want everybody to know that you're not too old and it's not too late ever to do anything, to reinvent yourself, to start working out. All you have to do is start. And consistency is so simple, but it's key to everything. If you want to be successful, just put the work in day in and day out, you know, and I promise you will get there. That's just what I think. I saw it with my own self, and I promise you can do it. Never too old and it's never too late. That's just what I want everybody to know. If I
I
can do it,
love
they
that.
can.
Yes, you're such a powerful representation of that. And I always love to end the episodes by asking like best advice for someone who's never competed before, and then your best advice for someone on their road to pro.
Oh, I love this question. Okay. Best advice for someone who's never competed before is do your research. I think knowledge is power. And I think one of the things that made me successful as an amateur is I studied this industry inside and out, like everything, you know. So I never wanted to go into a show and say, oh, I didn't know that. So I just spent hours and hours and hours, because I think if you want to be successful at anything, you have to know what you're doing. And so my advice would be to just do your research, you know, study everything, learn how to pose, get a good coach. All of those things are vital in my opinion, you know, and know your body. Like, you may not vibe with every coach. And if you feel like you're not vibing, there's so many good coaches out there. Get one who meets what you need specifically as a competitor, because we all need something different.
Good advice. I love that. And what about for a girl who's on her road to pro?
I think for someone who's on the road to pro, ask yourself, why do you want your pro card? Because I see a lot of people that say, I just want to turn pro. I just want my pro card. But why do you want your pro card? Because I think the difference between someone getting their pro card and not is you have to have the passion for it and the why, you know. And, you know, there's been a couple people that said to me, oh, well, you know, I don't want to sacrifice everything. I don't think it's worth it. Okay, well, then it's not going to be worth it. But it's like, in order to be successful in anything, you got to eat, sleep, and drink whatever it is that you want to do. Because if you don't, there's going to be someone else that will. And it's only temporary anyway. Like, how long are we in prep? 16 weeks, 12 weeks? Well, you know, everybody's different. And so you got to give it your all. Give it 200%. And don't cheat, because you're only cheating yourself. So if you want your pro card, give it everything you have, because there's no better feeling. I will tell you from my own experience, when I walked into North American that day and did check-in, I was so calm, because I knew in my heart I gave it everything I had and more. And even if I didn't win that day, I was going to be okay with it. And that's how you want to feel going into every show. You don't want to go into a show feeling nervous, like, oh God, maybe I should have done this, just give it everything. So when you go in there, you can enjoy the process, have fun on show day, and have no regrets when you leave. So that's my advice.
I love that, Suzanne. That's amazing advice. And I am so grateful for you coming on and just sharing not just that, but everything else throughout this entire episode. It's been so amazing hearing your story and connecting with you and laughing with you. It's just been really fun.
Oh my
and so, yes, I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Can I
Of
just tell you,
course.
like, I used on my bucket list, when I started competing, and of course, like turning pro. And I always said, like, I want to be on her podcast one day, So I just love, I listen to all of your episodes. I learn about all the different competitors, and I love that because I love hearing everybody's journey and their stories. So thank you for having this platform for us to be able to discuss. And, I had so many good takeaways from all the other competitors, and I hope I can help somebody one day also. And just thank you for having me.
Of course, that means so much to me. Like I guess it continues to surprise me, and I'm so just thankful to hear that because that's what I've wanted for this. That's like been part of the mission, is really help competitors to bring more light on the bikini division as well, and allow us all to learn from each other and connect and see that we're all real people. We all go through a lot of the same things, go through different things. We can learn from each other's experiences. So I appreciate that. And
Yep.
Just like you've listened to other girls, I would love for people to be able to communicate to you how much the episode has meant. So do you mind sharing where they could connect with you?
Yes, I'm very simple. I just have Instagram. It's Suzanne Fargo _IFBB Pro. And you can reach out to me for any questions that you have. I just love to help and inspire everybody. I think there's room for everybody at the top, and I love to see everybody succeed. And that's just how I roll.
I love that. Yes, there is room for everybody at the top, and those at the top are willing to help us get there, which I think is the best part about it. So thank you so much. I'm going to make sure I put that handle in the show notes page for everybody listening. That's always on celestial.fit/podcast. If you go to my Instagram at celestial_fit, you can also find it in the link in my bio. For those of you who are listening this Friday, as soon as the episode comes out, her show notes are going to be at the very top. Otherwise, just go to the category section and look for Suzanne Fargo, and you're going to find her there. Don't forget, we have a complete episode breakdown. I have hired some amazing listeners to create the episode notes, to create the episode timestamps, and they freaking kill it, and they're amazing. And I hope that you guys are liking that because you can actually see what we talked about when in the episode. So if you're finishing this up and you're like, when did she say that? I want to hear that again. Guess what? Look at the episode timestamps and you're going to know. So don't forget that. And then I appreciate all of you for your ratings, your reviews, your subscriptions. It means so much. And when I'm recording this, by the way, we are just under 300,000 unique downloads. I have no doubt that by next week, this is going to be the case. And of course, this episode is not being released till the future, but I want to say thank you now. I really appreciate your listenership. I appreciate that you guys share this. It means so much to me. This show has become something, unimaginable, and I appreciate every single one of you. So thank you. And Suzanne, thank you for sticking around to hear that whole entire rant I just did. Much appreciated.
Oh my God. So much. And congrats for success. This is an amazing platform for you.
Thank you so much, and I hope that you all have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever